has its ups and downs every single day. So when someone asked me how my day went, instead of explaining it in words, I had this urge to draw up like a graph, because it's not just good or bad. There's so many things. Sometimes it's exciting, there's ups, there's downs. So this is what my average work day looks like. When you extend this to all the years in my life so far, there have been a few defining moments which have changed the way I think. I work in financial risk management. And you know how people say you eventually become your job? I think that's slowly happening to me now. I look at everything in terms of risk and reward. Do you know what else has ups and downs? The stock market, the number of new users of an app, the quarterly revenue of a company. Anything that can be measured over a period of time has its ups and downs. These ups and downs in finance is handled in a slightly different way. We think big companies have a lot of tools and technology. They do. But today, let's see how we can deal with these ups and downs. So let me give you an example. For some reason, when these downs keep getting down, it's difficult to come back up. So what if I told you that if you make conscious decisions, you can come back up much more easily and with less damage? In finance, it's called cutting your losses. If you invested $10,000 in, let's say, a side project 3 years ago, and if it has not been going as per plan, would you continue it? Most probably, yes. You would put in more effort thinking that you were the problem. And you'll put in more time, more effort. And that's great. I'm not saying you should quit. And we all know quitters don't win and winners don't quit, right? Or maybe, sometimes, just maybe, it is a good idea to quit. But I'm saying this only because if you're making losses, not otherwise. So the question would be, when do you want to quit? When things are not working, or when things are really not working? Just because you invested in something 3 years ago does not mean you need to continue with it. When you continue a behavior or stick with a decision, just because you've invested resources or time or money, it is called the sunk cost fallacy. Now, the sunk cost fallacy can play a lot of tricks with you. Most times we think, just a little more effort and we'll get what we wanted. You can keep doing it, but it's not easy to decide if you should stay invested or not. For example, a lot of times we end up staying in a toxic relationship just because you've been with that person for too long. Or like studying something for 4 years, despite knowing in the first year that it's not for you, but we still stick with it. Now, how do we deal with sunk cost fallacy or any other mental fallacy which does not allow us to make the right decisions for ourselves? I got my answer when I came across this interesting research which suggests that cognitive reflection can help reduce sunk cost behavior. Now, what is cognitive reflection? It sounds very similar to the mental reflection our yoga teacher talks about, right? But what is the definition of it? In 2005, a study at MIT popularized the term cognitive reflection. It is the ability to pause and critically evaluate your initial thoughts or instincts before you respond. But how do we quantify or measure cognitive reflection? In the same study, the professor had something called the cognitive reflection test. It had just 3 questions, and today I would like to share one of them with you. So the question is, a bat and a ball cost $1.10 in total. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost? 10 cents? Yeah, that's what you would think initially, but $1 more than 10 cents is $1.10. So the bat itself would be 110, right? So the total would go up to $1.20. So what's the right answer?
5 cents.
Right, the ball is 5 cents. So the thing is, it's not a difficult question. It's a pretty straightforward question, but it's not easy. It requires you to give it another thought. And that's how most things in life are. It's simple, but not easy. It's okay if you do not get it right. Just like everything else, we can build a cognitive reflection, like any other muscle of your body. Now, for all matters of the mind, if you want to build focus or improve patience or be more mindful, people generally recommend meditation. But in popular culture and media, especially social media too these days, meditation is often misrepresented and oversimplified as a means to get instant relaxation or even mystical powers. I had my doubts about meditation too, but I was also extremely curious. So I did what most people in movies do, and I packed my bags and went straight to a yoga ashram. Now, as a 23-year-old, I perfectly understood the financial concept of no risk, no reward. So I took this huge risk. I quit my first job in just a year and decided to go after understanding how meditation works, how to get over fallacies. And then I finally understood that meditation is nothing like what we see in the movies. And this took me a yoga teacher certification and a master's degree in finance to realize. Because it's not understandable when someone tells you, you need to practice, you need to see it for yourself. So it takes time, be patient. And what I learned is, especially through this one analogy my yoga teacher gave, think of your mind like a lake. If there are too many disturbances or ripples, you cannot see what lies at the bottom. But if the water is more calm and stable, you can see much more clearly. That is how you get clarity. The process of getting this clarity is what meditation is all about. This was initially told by Patanjali, the guy who wrote the Yoga Sutras himself. Yogasta chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is to stop the chatter of the mind. That's the definition of yoga, guys. But when we think of yoga, all we think is asanas, right, and the physical practices, but this is the actual definition. Now, it sounds easy and nice, but when you sit down to meditate, it's a real struggle, and it was a struggle for me as well. So I had to gamify the process because I've heard so many benefits of it, but I couldn't even get to step one of this. So I decided to gamify the process, and I think of meditation as playing a game of Fruit Ninja. Imagine your phone, fruits dropping from the top, and your finger is like a knife, slicing the fruits, making sure it doesn't hit the bottom of the page. Similarly, when you sit down to meditate, you have random thoughts popping up in your head. And you sit there patiently saying, not now, I'm here to meditate. Another thought pops up and you say, not now, I'm here to meditate. And you keep reiterating, and that is how you train your mind. The distractions are always going to be there. But it is your ability to identify the distraction and move on towards your goal, which is what will help you. There are two steps here. One, when a random intrusive thought pops up, you've got to first identify it as something that is taking you away from your goal. And step two is taking action towards it and not continuing with the thought or pattern. Now again, it's all simple and sure, we can do it, but not a lot of people practice meditation, though it's free. And I wondered why, and I wouldn't do it myself either initially. And then I realized that there are a few tricks you need if you want to go down this path. The tricks most yogis use is the breath. That's why in most yoga classes or meditation classes, every 5 minutes, the yoga teacher keeps saying, watch your breath. So boring. But why the breath? And why not watch your digestive system or something else? Well, as we all know, the body has voluntary and involuntary functions. Moving your hand is voluntary. Digestion is involuntary. But breathing can be both, voluntary and involuntary. The body can breathe on its own, thankfully, but we can also hold our breath. We can time our inhale and exhale, and above all, be aware of it. If you think about that, it's very similar to how the mind works. You can use your mind to focus on something, read a subject, read a paper, and we do a lot of things consciously. But the mind can also, and it will, every now and then, through random thoughts, unwanted thoughts like fear, anxiety, thoughts of insecurity, self-doubt. Now, some people say, I don't need meditation. You know what? I rather play tennis or go swimming, and that will help me relax my mind. Fair, but what you're essentially doing is you're just distracting yourself. It works well in the short term, but you'll see yourself being caught up in similar mind traps every now and then. So how do we go forward? And what is yoga the only answer? No, it's not. Of course it's not. But the key is to practice. No matter how small the practice is, no matter how simple your process of gaining clarity is, it needs to be in the physical world, not just reading, because reading is a passive practice. And you need to actively indulge in taking conscious decisions, even if it is as small as saying your thought later. Let me focus on my goal. Initially, it's you just saying no to your thought and focusing on your breath. But eventually, you'll see that it just becomes like second nature. Every time you get a thought that does not help you in your goal, you'll easily be able to get rid of it and focus even on your financial goals, which can be as boring as watching your breath, as boring as saving up for retirement or saving up for that side project you wanted to start. Now, clarity and reflection and all of these things, they may not get you instant wealth, but it will help you make conscious decisions which can get you there eventually. It can help you handle the ups and downs of life with a bit more ease and a bit more grace. Thank you.